Okay, this is the update I was promising for everyone. So, my New Year's resolution, in case I haven't mentioned it already, was to basically get all my projects done, and I mean all of them done by the end of the year, yeah, along with a few other more personal goals. But these are going to be big challenges on their own. So I have to get the Ford Philco fixed. This was I think it was 70 or 70. Yeah, anyway, 1970 or 71 Ford Philco hybrid tube TV. It's got a few ICs in it. I think one or two, and some transistors and tubes. I'll do the reveal here. I'm just kind of am working on top of it. I have a little towel. I've got a lot of towels I keep for working on stuff to kind of keep the mess to a minimum. So what I'm doing right now is I had pulled the chassis out, and it took me forever to figure out how to pull it out. I kind of felt dumb for a minute because you undo the screws at the bottom of the chassis out of the wood cabinet, pull it out, but the tuner is supposed to go out that way too. But the problem was, and I didn't read the photo fact, I kind of just assumed, oh, that it'll just pop on right out. No. Well, this was loose, but the tuner was stuck, and I'm glad I read this. It basically says to pull the knobs out. And I took photos of everything to make sure I knew where everything was. Uh, so the tuner I'm trying to be very careful with, as I don't want to mess with it too much. I tested all the capacitors. Most of the capacitors are good. There's like a part of the one of the can caps that's bad. I'll have to take a look at more and more depth later. I'm going to recap everything. That's what I'm working on right now. This is a PCB board, single-sided PCB. Working on these, especially when things are this crowded, is a pain in the butt because I haven't been to lift this thing back and forth. Taking the PCB board off this metal heatsink slash chassis is a big pain, and I'm not going to mess with that. So diodes all tested good, which is great. Most of the capacitors are good. There's a few low value electrolytics on the board that are kind of bad. As far as ESR goes with the capacitor wizard, uh, haven't really checked the transformer yet. There's like I think this big one or there's a smaller one back here. The flyback's good, as far as I can tell when I was checking the ohm measurements. I know this kind of looks horrible. My mind's kind of all over the place today, so this is kind of the equivalent, physically speaking. I put the cover back on because I quickly realized how vulnerable that tube neck is, including the pins. If someone bumps into it or falls, that would not be a pretty sight. There's a little pilot bulb that was in there that burned out. They almost always burn out, the 6.3 volt incandescent bulb. Pinball, actually, they use these in pinball machines, so I was able to find an LED replacement for these, which I ordered. So the problem with this TV, though, in summary of why I took it all apart, I'm trying to check everything in thorough detail, and I mean everything. Clean, deoxid all the pots, check for tin whiskers, you name it. So diode's good. I'm going to rule out the capacitors. Flyback's good. Vacuum, the CRT's good. It's possible that the drive for the voltage might be a bit too high because they might have bounced it up when the horizontal output tube was going bad and then finally went to air and did the purple plasma weird stuff that it did in one of the earlier videos. Uh, so I'm kind of at a loss. I don't really know if it really is just carbon tracing at this point. And if so, is that really all there is to it? Or did something else happen? Because it was arcing in an earlier video, and then it kind of, I felt like there was a second spark a second later. But it would always happen after you'd hear the high-pitched CRT whine or the coil whine. But there'd be no visible picture on the picture tube yet before the arcing happens, and I'd panic and I'd turn the TV off. This problem kept happening, and I wasn't really sure if it's just a matter of the voltage needing to be adjusted or if the transformer's bad, because I haven't ruled out the transformer yet. I really hope it's not the transformer. I checked out the circuit breaker switch. I checked the service switches. None of that's the issue. I'm not really sure what the deal is. Is there a bad tube? Could the damper also be bad? Because I replaced the horizontal tube. Now, the problem with the horizontal tube, and I'll show you in a minute here, it's I can't remember what the name of the tube is on the top of my head, but so this is an RCA. I think it's new old stock, actually. I'm pretty sure it is. So take a look at this tube. This is the replacement one for the horizontal one that went to air and failed. Now, there's a little metal bracket element that fell out of this thing at some point, and it's kind of down in there. And obviously you don't want it to short anything, so I don't know if that means that this tube's bad or what. I don't have a tube tester to rule anything out, so I could use a little bit of help. If anyone who's watching my videos knows anything about working on this stuff, or they used to work on it, this would be a great time to help me figure this out, because I'm at this point just going down and breaking everything piece by piece, even to the point where I'm considering testing the transistors on this thing. But some of them are a little harder to get to than others, and I'm not really sure if I can actually get away with testing them in circuit like I could the diodes. There was one diode on the back of this thing I was suspicious of, and I believe that's a doubler or tripler. Oh yeah, did that fail? And so how would I know how to test that? I mean, there's a lot of things that could be causing the problems that I'm seeing for the arcing. I'm just kind of wondering how much of it really, because this thing doesn't look that dirty. Could it be another tube? Could it be the high voltage rec tube? Could this tube be bad because of that little metal thing that fell down? I don't know. I don't think this thing arced. I mean, I checked the filament. I mean, everything seemed like, because the arcing problem did not happen when the old horizontal tube was in there with the purple plasma arcing episode that we saw way back. Little scatterbrained, but basically, video went on a bit longer than I intended, but arcing problem, ruled out diodes, ruled out the flyback, as far as I can tell, and I'm going to rule out the capacitors. Most of the can caps were, only a partial part of one can cap was bad. I think 2 out of 3 of one of the can caps was marginal ESR. I know that leakage is more important with tube stuff than solid state stuff, but this is kind of a weird situation where it's kind of a little bit of everything. So, but most of the capacitors that seemed to be bad were primarily low-level electrolytics on this board, which does have some tube sockets. I'm not really sure which part of the circuit that is on the top of my head, but nothing, no capacitors on the tuning stuff was bad. I tested that, deoxed all the stuff down here. I'm not really sure if you're supposed to do that with this or if you have to use something else. I just wanted to be careful. That's the cup there. I didn't really see anything that showed any signs of shorting or black soot on any of the wires, so I'm going to go back over here again and just kind of show you how it all looks. So I think a stray thought I had was, at first when I first saw point-to-point wiring, I didn't like it. But the more I've been working on these TVs, the more I prefer point-to-point wiring, because trying to work with these old, crusty PCB boards, which are not very good with high heat tube sockets, I mean, this is when the quality of TVs in the United States started going the other direction. I mean, it was still well built compared to stuff today, but by this point, they started to cut costs, and you can tell, I mean, some of this stuff's particle board with the TV, but still a nice TV. Any TV with vacuum tubes in it, you really want to keep, or find someone who wants it. But there's the instructions, by the way. And if anyone's really curious, in case someone's begging to open this thing up, I know people are thinking that, what, like everything's everywhere. Okay, let me show you. So that's the flyback, and there's the high voltage tube. I took all the other tubes out, although I didn't really see any harm in leaving this in here. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, do you think I should just take the whole cup out? Should I use a Dremel? Is there something else going on? Am I wasting my time here with trying to clean that up? Is there like a sole issue? By the way, with that red board, I know that those can be prone to arcing, and I checked the back. I didn't see any major issues back there that would suggest it was arcing back there. I think it was arcing here, up in that cup, between 2 of the junction points. And then it kind of, and there's this little thing here, and then there's another little metal, I think those are with grounding, so I'm wondering if there's a grounding issue, potentially even. All right, video went on long enough, so that's my update. See you guys.